Ik satini Johan Gwenalchish ha in chisati. Good to see you all. Thank you for being with us. Shaksani Keek and I have a fun day lined up for our Friday discussion. And today is week 3, day 3 of our class, Friday, January 27th. On our list for today, Shaksani Keek has very generously shared her Lingit Foods list. She has a lot of really awesome information and background with nutrition and traditional foods. So she would like you all to have a copy of her Lingit Foods list that she's compiled over time. And then, so we'll share that. I'll show you how you can edit it and add to it after making a copy so that you can make it your own. And then we'll hear from Shaksani Keek on her background with nutrition and traditional foods. And then we'll have a discussion. So first of all, before we get started, I'll share with you this link and put it in the chat, and then I'll show you how you can make a copy that you can edit. So I'm pasting it in the chat right now. If you like, you can go ahead and open that up. And what you'll have is a view only copy, but it will look like this. And if you would like to make a copy that you can add to as you continue your journey with nutrition and Lingit foods, what you can do is open File. So here in your top bar, you can select File and scroll down to make a copy. And you can click that. You can title it how you like. So I might replace copy of Southeast Food List with my own name. And then share it in the folder of my choice and select make a copy. So now what I'm able to do is have an editable version for myself so that if there's another food I want to add, I can do that. So before we get started, are there any questions on that process? Are you able to open the document? Yeah, seeing some head nods. Okay. So moving on, vitamins and Lingit foods. This will be a multi-week discussion. Today we're going to focus on vitamins, and then in our following discussions we'll have some more related and similar topics. But let's go ahead and hear from Shaksani Keek on her background information on nutrition and Lingit foods.
Okay, you'll have to keep me advised on the time.
Okay.
So I want you to have the list so you can write on it. I'll be telling you what vitamins exist on in that particular food, so you can start marking it up and where to find the different vitamins that we're going to talk about. Okay. I hope everybody has a copy, because that's going to be your participation in the class, to take down the information for your own use. The list is, believe it or not, is not comprehensive. You have to realize that I'm an islander. We live on Chichagof Island, like Angoon is on Admiralty Island, Sitka is on Baranof Island, and I think Cake is on an island too. So the rest of the Tlingit, Sacanes, and Taku and Ak is they would have they would have additional things to put into the list. But this is the general list that I came up with. Okay. Um, the the food list I was very familiar with because of my parents. The we gathered most of these foods. So if you looked at the list and you had every single thing of, of all of the things on the list, you would be a very wealthy person. So it's the chances are good that you'll be get if you work hard, you can get most of it. I studied nutrition, or I studied home economics in University of Washington in Seattle, and I was very, very impressed with the scientists um, because they were able to figure out what foods you had to eat in order to be a healthy person, that you don't have a lot of health issues because everything was right. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about first is how when I looked at uh, the work that they did, there is, and it's something I always used to show, and I forgot to include that as a triangle. What the scientists did was they put in different categories in a triangle that was divided up into boxes, and uh, how many, how much uh, bread and bread, cereals, and those kind of foods, how many of them you should have in a day, how much meat you're supposed to have, how much vegetables, how many kinds you should eat, fruit, all of those. And I thought, wow, that's really something that they would be able to figure something like that out. If you ever see the triangle, because I think you can Google it, it's called the food triangle. Um, if you ate exactly what it says in a triangle all day, it comes to about 12,000, uh, 1,200 calories. So if you're on a diet and you're sick and tired of counting calories, you eat only what it says on the triangle in a day. That gives you 1,200 calories, and that's a good diet. Um, so after being so totally amazed about this, I began to think about our native foods, and I had to laugh because uh, I kind of visioned the triangle, uh, the food triangle, with the native foods. We had very little greens and vegetables. We had some, but not that was available all the time. Um, we didn't have any cereal or any bread or anything like that at all. So that would be an empty cabinet. But the meat and protein cabinet would be so full, the whole thing would tip over. So uh, it was funny when I tried to vision it. And then I began to think what when you look at uh, the old photos, I think we have a photo here of two men. Um, but, historical, and when you look at them, and this is something that the medical field people do, is to evaluate you by your appearance. Uh, their hair is nice and thick and dark. Their skin looks really nice, really good. No sores. The whites of their eyes uh, are clear, and no sores around their nose or around their mouth. And when you look at their limbs, their uh, legs and arms are in fairly a good and straight position. What happens if you're in really, really poor health is to have bow legs. And you don't see that very often nowadays. Uh, but in the old pictures, uh, and I were talking about, is the wonderful stands that the men would have when they had their picture taken for the regalia. But when you really study that, really realize uh, that they had to have eaten all the right things in order to look as good as they do, have good skin, no sores, good eyes and hair. And when I teach teenagers, I always tell them, if you like what you see when you look in a mirror, you better make sure you eat all your vegetables because that contains a lot of good, valuable um, vitamins for you to look that good. A lot of young people don't like to eat that. So, um, but I think the way that we prepared food and the parts that we ate really gave us uh, the valuable vitamins that we needed. I'm not a nutritionist. A nutritionist is a person that completely studies scientifically what I'm talking about. I'm a nutrition educator. I know the general information. In fact, uh, they tried to study chemically the native foods, and I have some books that were given to me by the nutritionist who got some native food and got money to do the study. But what happens is there's not enough money to really uh, be able to help you find the information you need about native foods. I think there is some native nutritionists who can probably give you some more scientific details. What I'm going to give you is the general information about vitamins and what it does in your body and why you need it. So, in regards to the portions that you're supposed to have, um, that I will not go into. So, in looking at some of the old pictures, and you can do that yourself by going through some old historical books when they began to take photos. At that time, during early contact, we were still eating a lot of the foods that we were supposed to. We still were not into at least in my family, up into the time when I was a teenager, we still ate completely native foods. I think my parents would buy rice and a bag of flour and sugar and some milk and coffee. So that was the sources of people store food that we had. So we still ate a lot of the native foods and prepared by my mother in the same way. So I had to base my studies on the native foods to be able to uh, diagram and put the food in its place. So one of the things that I did, when I wrote the list, it the list is the name of the animal that we eat, the fish, the salmon, what kind it was, sockeye, and all the way down to dog salmon and halibut. I didn't make a list of the parts, but here's what I want you to do to add to the list that's going to be your own is liver. So we'll be looking at the vitamins that exist in these different foods. It's actually going to be a search by you guys to determine after I tell you about the vitamins. So the first vitamin that was studied and discovered was vitamin A. Of course, that's why they have it as an A. Vitamin A is uh, fats called fat soluble. In other words, you can't destroy it by boiling it or uh, soaking it or anything like that because it's fat solid. It uh, it only goes into the fatty stuff. So if you take a carrot and you cut it and chop it and grate it and boil it and uh, soak it and uh, all those things, freeze it. The only thing I think that doesn't help carrots is to let it dry out or get old. So, uh, so it is kind of uh, neat to use that as an example. So the vitamin A is responsible, and I hope that through this talk you'll be able to realize how busy your body is all the time, even when you're sleeping. I don't know if you know that your taste buds are replaced completely every 2 weeks. So, that's how busy your body is. It's constantly working. So if you don't put the food in there that's needed, then it has to make substitutions or just let it go. Vitamin A is responsible for your hair, your eyes, your skin, like I mentioned, I think even your mouth, your teeth, the coating that's on your teeth, and also having good, strong bones. So it's important for those things, and it's important to your bones, your making it more solid. Calcium works a part of it, but vitamin A does a lot more work in your system. And we can't go deeply into all of it, but but the sources that are listed in the science books are a lot of vegetables. So you go through a huge list of vegetables. And when you look at the Tlingit foods, we have vegetables, but they were seasonal. We used to, I think, used to starve for vegetables, and we would disappear as kids. We would disappear into the woods to eat. Yana ate, and just really fill up. Just sit there and just keep eating. So that cannot be saved. There's a few things that were available, I think, beach asparagus and beach grass, that kind of foods. I can't remember what I have on the list that can be, I think they used to prepare it and save it for the winter. But as far as that goes, the biggest and best source of vitamin A is in liver. So scroll down to your liver, and on the long side of it, write A. And also kidneys and heart, same thing. And you can actually kind of begin to pick out, and this is like I said, not a scientific information that I'm giving you, because you're going to have to do part of the work. So the interesting thing about vitamin A is you tend to find it in things that are of color, like carrots. So since we don't have carrots, you have to look at some things that are kind of reddish. So if I can hear from the students on the looking at the list, which one would you pick to have vitamin A because of the color? Besides, I gave you a liver already.
Skinia Kla, you have your hand up?
Berries, some of the berries.
The berries, the dark berries would have vitamin A. Blueberries and Nigun berries, and I think all of the berries have, but the dark berries have the most. So all of the other berries also have vitamin A. And you can mark down by the vegetables that would have vitamin A when it was available. Anything else?
Hayash?
I'm guessing maybe the black seaweed.
Yeah, because seaweed, when it's fresh, is green. So that is a really good source of vitamin A. Anything else that's red or reddish?
We had someone write in the chat rhubarb.
Or, yeah, the plants. would have it. But then you're going to be short. I mean, the liver, you get a deer or and that's a real good source. The interesting thing about wild animals is they tend to store a lot more nutrients because they're not sure about when they're going to get the next one.
Mm.
It's not like the cow or that knows it's being taken care of and will be fed and doing all kinds of things. So they tend to store more. So you can depend on the fact that if you're going to eat deer liver, you're going to get a lot more nutrients than if you're eating baby liver. Okay, anything else?
Um,
You're not looking.
Liz had her hand up.
How about herring and salmon for vitamin A?
Which salmon?
Oh, maybe all of them. I don't know.
Which one?
How about dog salmon?
Dog salmon meat is not quite red.
Somebody in the chat wrote got, which I think is sockeye.
Sockeye. The brightest red fish. So because of the color, sockeye, coho, king salmon. It's not the white king salmon. Would have a lot. So you're on the right track. Is there anybody else with another offer from anything on the list?
How about
This is Diana Wallace. My phone number is 209, well, 907 209 4179. I just received a phone call to move my 2 o'clock appointment to 4 o'clock, and I just realized that it's pretty dark around 4 o'clock, and my eyesight's not that good at night. So I'm wondering if I can reschedule to another day, more daylight. If you need me to call back again, that would be great.
Oh, sorry, I thought Liana was answering the question. It sounded like we were listening to her phone call. Okay, Hayash, you have your hand up.
I don't know if it's the right answer, but and I look at some of our old writings from some of my ancestors, and I see that they talk about the Canadian goose tongue being part of the diet, and I guess that would be something that's red. I don't know if that's would be right or not, but
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Like I said, we're islanders, so we do eat geese, but I don't remember that part. We usually ate the meat. So any of the meat that is darker, like ducks and geese, and what we call today is dark meat. Actually, like if you got a wild turkey, it would have been dark color because it has to use the muscles, and it's something that is important with wild animals because they have to run or fly or work hard, so they have darker meat, and you can be sure that it contains vitamin A. So when you think about it, um, what's inside the egg? What's in the middle of the egg?
The yolk.
So the yolk has vitamin A. You're not looking deep enough, you guys. The meat from the animals that fly, any of the animals that have to run and work hard, has a darker color. So that's an important clue. There is one that I haven't experienced it. My brother was telling me about it, that it's the roots. I think it's the roots of a flower. What is what's the plant that grows every place where there's a fire? It kind of goes there.
Clush. Clush. Fireweed.
Fireweed. Yeah. When it gets old, you can dig up the roots, and he said it looks like small carrots, but you take that and clean it up, wash it and cook it, and it looks like sweet potatoes. So that would have a lot of vitamin A. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that I hope you're marking everything, because it doesn't, none of the foods contain just one thing. It might be really a good source for different things. So I think it's a surprise to some people that berries would have a lot of vitamin A, because you kind of expect it to be mostly in meats and things like that. So
Oh, we had some options in the chat offered by folks. Seal, chocolate lily, fireweed, salmon eggs, and rose hips.
salmon eggs are a very good source. I don't know who gave that, but I forgot that that is so important because of the color of salmon eggs. Makes my mouth water just to think about it.
Yeah.
Really a good source for making soup when it's fresh. So yeah, make sure you mark by if salmon eggs is not on the list, add it, and make sure you mark it with A. Okay. The first vitamins that we talked about is fat soluble, and is there any other choices that you're going to question? I heard the one source that rose hips we'll talk about later. It probably does have, because of the color, would have vitamin E. I think even salmon berries have vitamin A. Probably not as much as the dark blueberries and things like that. But anything on the list you might have a question on? The seal is really a wonderful source, but yeah, it does have the vitamin A, so you might as well mark it vitamin A because we eat so many parts of it.
Mm.
And that's probably the really good source of some vitamin A.
And somebody else offered in the chat porcupine.
Porcupine, porcupine is a hard worker, constantly working to survive, and the meat is very bitter and dark. It's possible that it does have the vitamin A as a source. I don't know if whoever wrote that, if they had some, but I tasted that and it's quite bitter, but a kind of a different choice to try. It wasn't something that I really would like on the menu all the time. Okay, if there's no other, we're talking about the fat soluble vitamins. And I want to thank the person for bringing up the salmon eggs because I almost forgot about that. That was very important. But we'll go on to the fat soluble vitamins, which is the next one would be a D, vitamin D. I think you've heard of that for a good source for it. It's kind of a helper to calcium for you to absorb calcium. And the only good source that is mentioned, of course, is the sunlight. So if you're exposed to the sunlight a lot, you're a fisherman or you're out all the time, you're getting the vitamin D through the skin. You are in a car and you're driving a nice and hot sunny day and you keep your arm up so that the sun would get to it, but the window is up. Vitamin D does not go through glass. It has to be exposed skin. It's very hard to find and do because it's the best source is the sunlight, but there is ways of some foods that might have some that would be able for you to for your body to get. So what they do nowadays for vitamin D, because it's so important to your body to keep your bones healthy and your teeth, is the sunlight. But they now started adding it to milk. So if you don't drink milk, or if you're allergic to milk, you better make sure you take vitamin D3 every day because your body needs it to keep working. Because like I said, your body is constantly working and doing things to vitamin D works with, like I said, with calcium to make your bones healthy in your teeth. So you need to be aware of that. Don't get a sunburn though, because that doesn't help anything. To be out in the sun is all right, to get a little bit, to make sure that you're getting some vitamin D. In Alaska, it's kind of hard because sometimes even in the summer it's cold. So then we get what we call Alaska suntan. Your hands and your face is suntan. So vitamin D, I think it's possible because it's a fat soluble that it could be available from a food source such as seal oil and probably what do they call it in English? Sake. Uh, uh,
Seal oil?
no, it's in Hanes.
Hooligan oil?
Yeah, it might be in there, and since nobody has studied, we're doing just some scientific searches. It's because the hooligan grease, which was my preferred oil as a child, because my mother was Chilkat, is we used to have a big tub of it in sitting outside all winter. So when you scooped it up from the outside, it was like shortening. It was wonderful. I just loved it. Whenever I can, I try to find some so I could have it. And people try to eat it by the spoonful just as you take vitamins, because it's so full of, it's a wonderful source of all kinds of vitamins. So I kind of suspect it's in there, and it's they used to have my mom give us cod liver oil every day to me and my little brother. You have this big giant spoonful. It looked like so big to me. She would pour the cod liver oil in there, and then you just took it. It was pretty nasty stuff to take. Then the nurse discovered that the same benefits was in seal oil, but I had to have more of it. So yeah, you get a teacup full. My mom used to pour the seal oil into a teacup and leave it, one for me and one for my brother. And it's a wonderful thirst quencher. When we got real thirsty, we'd go in and take a sip, take some drinks out of it. And then if we didn't finish it, then she would bring it to the table to add to our foods. So I fully suspect that there was a source of vitamin D, because we live in an area that was really rainy in southeast, so we had to have a source for that particular vitamin. So as vitamin D, you might mark if you don't have it on the list, put seal oil and hooligan grease, put down vitamin D. And while you're at it, you might add vitamin A to each one of those. tell me if I start talking too soon before I finish writing.
Okay, we'll let you know. So far, so good.
Okay, we did vitamin A, then vitamin D. There's still an oil soluble vitamin E. And vitamin E was pretty discouraging to me because of the sources. Vitamin E source, you find a really good source in olive oil. And see, what does it work? Does it work? I think all of these particular vitamins that we've been talking about are real good sources for your hair and your eyes and skin and your mouth, your bones. But vitamin E, according to the books, say that vitamin E only comes from plants. And as you can tell, the plant resource we had was very, very few and mostly seasonal. So it was really difficult to try to find the sources. But I did find that there's some vitamin E that is available in salmon, but only if you bake it, not fried or boiled. Meat, if you broil it, don't fry it. I'm not sure if grilling, like barbecue, is the same as broiling. I don't think so. I think it might be, anyway, to broil the meat, the chances are good that you will find the source, and it's very little. In passing, I suddenly realized that vitamin E could be found in peaches. And right away, my mind goes to, we don't have peaches in Southeast, but we have all these other wonderful sources that are like peaches. And when you think about peach, it's the color, the body of the peach. So if you look at some berries, I think salmon berries probably might have a source of that vitamin E that we need. Just because it's a kind of a wild choice by me for looking for something like that is very important for us to have in our bodies. So the sources for vitamin E, and I wish I had, like I said, when they did the studies on native foods, they didn't have enough money. So the choices were only like major foods like deer meat and salmon and whale meat and walrus. And then it wasn't fully studied. So it was only just like a few vitamins they were able to find. If any of you have a chance to find a Japanese nutrient, food nutrient content someone gave me one, and it was so wonderful because they eat the same thing as we do. And it had a more detailed resources, but somewhere in the moving around that we did, I lost the book, so I don't have it anymore. But it was written in English, and it contained a lot of information of the food sources that they had. So that's really important. Are there any comments or questions on that one?
I just love that connection to Japanese food and cuisine because I noticed that too. We eat a lot of seaweed, fish, rice, things that grow in our lands because we share an ocean with Japan.
It was a really a wonderful source, and I think we're kind of forgetting the parts of the animal that we ate. I mentioned the liver and kidney, but one of the things, the parts that we used to eat is the first stomach of the deer. I don't know if any of you have ever had that. That is so wonderful. It's really kind of a strange thing. And when you go to the to the store, they call it tripe, and it's pure white. And I said, "Oh no, what did they do to this?" I watched my dad when he got a deer, and he opened the first stomach of the deer, and here was this huge collection of grass. And what shocked me was when I looked at it was the orderly way that the deer put it in its stomach. I don't know how it does it, but everything was laid out. They chew it short, but everything was all pointing in the same direction and laid out so that it completely filled the stomach. So what my dad did was, and it was bright green. It was really bright, and he just took those the grass out and cut up the stomach into small pieces. My mother cooks it, and I still remember how really tasty it is. When you when you take a bite of it, it kind of reminds me of trying to bite a towel. It's really thick, but the taste is so wonderful. So the deer stomach would be a really super good source of vitamin A because of the deer eating the grass. The intestines of the seal. I was telling my students, I said, "Yeah, we ate the intestines," and the kid said, "Oh, you eat the intestine?" And I said, "Yeah, and if you ate link sausage, you already ate intestines. So turn your nose up at that one, you know." So my mom used to chop it up into short pieces, mix it in with some meat that she was cooking. Add some potatoes and vegetables, and boy, what a nice dish that was. And that is, I think, a super good source of vitamin A. So we got to E. Got one more fat soluble vitamin, and it's K. This one is a really important vitamin, because what it does is it works in your system so that when you get a gash or cut or you have surgery, it quickly helps with the calcium and different sources to make a blood clot so that you don't bleed to death. And the source for vitamin K was almost nothing. I couldn't find a source that you could have, and apparently your body just gets it from a mixture of different things to have that ready as a standby to make sure that that you have that in your system. In fact, I think, I'm not sure, but I think for surgery they make sure that you have that vitamin in your system so that you don't bleed to death. So
Okay.
those are all the fat soluble vitamins. So if you have any comments or questions before we go into,
Okay. Yeah, and just a quick time check. We are right at time already. It's 1 p.m. That flew by. But as Shaksani Keek mentioned, are there any closing thoughts, comments, or questions you'd like to share from the group?
take the list home and study it and say, what about this or what about that? Kind of questions.
Skinya Tla, you have your hand up?
Okay, I'm hungry now. And I just happen to have herring eggs and hooligan oil in the refrigerator. And I wish I could share it with everybody. It's just a small amount, but yes, hooligan oil is definitely on my top of the list too.
Yeah,
Goodness,
and
cheese.
I think herring eggs, you can mark it down with like the other eggs, has vitamin A, especially if you dip it in oil.
Oh, yeah. Herring eggs and oil is so good.
Yummy.
Devin, you have your hand up as well?
Hello. I noticed that one thing I don't see on the list is violets. I don't know if you can hear me. I have my headphones in.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. I took a native herbalism class while I was pregnant, and one of the things that I remember them talking about was how violets have like 3 petals of a violet has your entire daily dose of vitamin C.
Oh,
And they grow like all over here in Washington and up in Alaska and like all up the western coast. So I think that's a really cool one.
wow. I'll add it. Uh-huh.
To bring that up, it reminded me that we also use Hudson Bay tea, and that would have, because of the plant, it probably has a lot of vitamin A. So we're going to keep finding things.
Okay. Any other closing thoughts, comments, or questions from the group before we close for the day?
We're all going to show up for the herring eggs.
Pretty soon, huh? Seems just right around the corner. Chatsu achit yanuaha. I'm hungry too. Gunalchish plain. Shaksani kik ha inki nige. Ha ed chayit at yayagi. Ha tu yake sautua achi. Yuhan, well, Gunalchish Hatya Adi, thank you for coming here today. Thank you to Shaksani Keek for talking with us about traditional Tlingit foods and the vitamins we can find in them. This is an excellent discussion, a lot of good information for how to care for our bodies and our children. And let's keep it going. So in our next coming Friday discussions, Shaksani Keek has a lot more to share in terms of other nutrients and minerals you can find in foods. And so we'll keep it going. But until then, we'll see you here, same time, same Zoom link on Tuesday, 12 p.m. Gonalchish, Tsuye Kwasatin.
Today,
Buenas
Kwasati.
noches.
Cheese,